Good day, my name is Amelia and today I'll be doing my formal practical in the English language. I will be reading the story The Ugly Duckling. Today I would hope the children learn in the development phase. I would hope they learn that books are quite interesting and motivating to reading if you read it the right way. And that if they have any problems, they can relate to in the story, because each story has a way for children to relate and feel safe in. So good day, class. Before I start my lesson, I would like to read you guys a quote. Grace is an ugly duckling, the bud that blooms into a white rose floating on water. So I'd like you guys to remember this quote because it's quite important for later. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a duck. This mother duck had no children, for her eggs never hatched. She waited patiently day and night for her babies to hatch. And one day, as she was sitting on her nest, she felt something move under her. A vibration. Something is moving. Crack, crack, crack. Filled with happiness, the mother duck watched as one by one of her eggs hatched. She was so excited to lead her children to the pond to teach them how to become a duck. But unfortunately for the mother duck, one egg was left to hatch. But this egg was larger than the rest, browner than the rest. Her little ducks waited impatiently for 2 more days and nights. Mother, I want to go to the pond, one duck quacked. Let's go, 2 more quacked. But the mother duck made them all wait, for she promised herself that she would love each of her children the same way. At the crack of dawn on the 3rd day of waiting, the large brown egg began to vibrate. It shook and shook as all of the ducks watched in away. Suddenly, crack! Out from the large brown egg popped a large, strange-looking bird that looked quite nothing like a duck. This baby's beak was too long, his feathers were too scruffy, and his face was too ugly. But nonetheless, the mother duck promised herself that she would love each of her children the same way. She led them all to the nearby pond and began to teach them how to be a duck. She taught them how to quack, and all of her ducklings quacked, quacked, quacked. But the ugly duckling quacked. All of the ducks in the pond started laughing at the ugly duckling. The mother duckling sadly took a little duckling over to a different pond. The other ducklings were giggling and making fun of her. This one, looking nothing like the other one, jested. This one is ugly, the other scoffed. The ugly duckling hung his head in shame. The mother duckling became very embarrassed and hid her baby in the corner of the pond. And the poor little ugly duckling was forced to watch how all her sisters and brothers swam and dived and quacked and splashed around while he was sitting there, doing nothing. One evening, all of the ducks in the pond has gone to sleep. The ugly duckling decided he couldn't take this pain anymore, and he ran away. He waddled far away from the pond where he was born. He waddled through small marsh plants and large riveries. He waddled over bundles of sticks and piles of dung. All this waddling made him dirtier than ever before. He approached a new pond that was full of a family of different ducks. These ducks were happily swimming and quacking. He advanced on all the ducklings who looked just to be a little larger than the ugly duckling. Hello there, beamed the ugly duckling to the other ducklings. With this, the new family of ducks turned and stared at this ugly duckling. And who are you? Asked the mother duckling. What are you? Asked the father duckling. You sure are ugly, the ducklings chimed in. As this family of ducks began to quack and laugh, the ugly duckling waddled off again, in search of a nicer house. Next, the ugly duckling came to an even larger pond filled with a family of geese. The goslings were brown-grey like he was. Happily, the duckling waddled to the water's edge, plopped his little body in the water, and swam towards the geese. He advanced to the goslings, who looked even larger and greyer than him. Hello there, the ugly duckling happily explained, greeting the goslings. With this, the family of geese turned and stared at the ugly duckling. And who are you? Asked the mother duck. What are you? Asked the father duck. You sure are ugly, all the goslings chimed in. As the family of geese began to honk and laugh at the ugly duckling, before the duckling could waddle off, the geese surrounded him, and the father geese said, Though you are quite strange looking, you may stay with us. You are more than welcome to join our family." And the ugly duckling was happy. He was happier than ever before. They accepted him as one of theirs. But, unfortunately, a hunter and his basset hounds spotted the pond and approached. They began to shot at all of the geese. And the hound saw him. As he ran to the duckling could do nothing but sit and shake, all afraid. But as the dog came near him, he turned his head and said, "What are you?" "Ha! You are no goose." And he ran away in search of a real one. In the midst, the hunters ambushed the ugly duckling sadly waddled off again. He was growing larger, his feathers were coming out, and the ugly duckling flew away. However, the ugly duckling had become very weak and hungry and couldn't fly anymore. And it took shelter during the night in an old small house. In the morning, the ugly duckling awoke to the sound of human chatter. "What is it?" an old woman asked. "A duck, perhaps?" an old man replied. "Just what we've needed," the woman exclaimed. "What?" the farmer asked. "A ugly duck, a duck that we can use to lay eggs for us." So they kept the ugly duckling and raised the ugly duckling and fed him. But they waited and waited and waited, but with no luck. The ugly duckling never lay eggs. Though the farmer and his wife had grown fond of this ugly duckling, they had no more room in the house, and they shooed him away. "Shoo shoo! Go find yourself a family you will love," shouted the farmer sadly, and shut the door. The ugly duckling hung his head dead and waddled far away from the farmer's house. He waddled through frozen marsh plants and large frozen river reeds. He waddled over frozen bundles of sticks and frozen piles of dung. All the waddling made him colder than ever. But miraculously, the little duck lived and made it through the winter. He approached a crystal clear pond and saw a family of the most beautiful birds he has ever seen before. Swans. As he sat by the water's edge, he didn't even dare to ask the birds if he can join, for he knew they were too beautiful and would never accept an ugly duck as he. Suddenly a swan gracefully glided through the water over where the duckling was sitting. My, your feathers are the whitest I have ever seen. How they gleam in the sun," the swan exclaimed to the ugly duckling. Confused, the ugly duckling wandered to the water and peered in his reflection. And to his surprise, he was not even a duck, not unless an ugly duck. He was a beautiful swan with a long, elegant neck. He entered the water and joined his new family. One day the swans were swimming. A man and his wife came crawling by with their child. The swan recognized the couple and the farmer and his wife. They approached the edge of the pond and began to feed the swans breadcrumbs. The farmer looked at the ugly duckling and said, "It looks like you found your family, a nice little nest. You are the most beautiful swan I have ever seen." And for the rest of his days, the beautiful swan and his family lived happily ever after. And often now and then, the farmer and his family greeted them. The end. So, does anyone know what you can learn out of this story? No. So, an important lesson you guys can learn out of this story is that no matter how you are, how you look, you as a person will be loved by the right people. And by this I mean your family or your friends. You are beautiful from the inside and out. And you would be accepted by the right people, by your people, the people who love you and embrace your beauty and accept you as you are. Nonetheless, how you are, how you look, they would always love you as who you are, the person you have become. So if you ever feel unwanted or unloved, just remember, there are people who love you and care for you. Just like the ugly duckling. He went through all this suffering and found his family at the end. He met people who loved him, the geese loved him. He met people that accepted him for who he is. So my little children, what I'm telling you today that you all are beautiful white roses gliding through water. So in life, you all are beautiful roses gliding through life. No matter how big the thorns are or how anything looks, you will always prosper and be the best person you are. Just always remember that. You are loved and appreciated the way you are.